single dad adopts twins. Then their birth certificates reveal a shocking secret. Leonard had raised the twins with all the love in his heart, believing he knew every part of their story. But when he finally opened their birth certificates, his hands trembled. The names staring back at him revealed a shocking secret tied to his own past. How were his sons connected to a life he thought he'd left behind? One discovery would unravel everything and change their futures forever. Before we continue, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? In the vibrant town of Sun City, Leonard was the doting single father who had opened his heart and home to twin boys, Nova and Owen. The townsfolk admired him for his unselfish love and the inner strength he displayed in bringing up the boys by himself. Yet no one, not even Leonard, could have anticipated the most life-altering moment of his quest wouldn't be when he brought them home, but when he eventually scanned their birth certificates. His fingers shook as he opened the papers, his breath caught in his throat. The names of the parents stared at him, not as strangers, but as specters of a past that he thought he'd left behind. At that moment, the life he'd so carefully and the truth that he found would shatter everything that he knew. Leonard would never forget the day the adoption was complete. It was etched in his memory like a treasured photo. It had all fallen into place so easily, as though destiny itself had entwined their lives. The conditions were straightforward. No birth certificate access, no information regarding their beginnings, a closed adoption through and through. But Leonard had not cared. His heart was too full of happiness at the possibility of being a dad to Nova and Owen, of filling their lives with protection and love. Now, in retrospect, the years that preceded them were a far-off haze, a half-life. The twins had infused warmth into the very texture of his universe, their laughter a constant hum, their hugs a silent affirmation that he was where he was always meant to be. It was more than coincidence. It was something like magic. And Leonard blessed the world every day for having brought them into his life. He'd placed the twins' biological beginnings at the rear of his mind for years. The adoption was closed, and he'd become accustomed to the unknown. Certain things, he figured, were better not understood. He hoped that someday Nova and Owen would inquire, and he would navigate those waters with them. But in the meantime, he put all of his efforts into fostering the life they were building together, devoting all of his heart to being their father. Fatherhood was Leonard's fondest desire, even if love hadn't seen fit to give him a mate to share it with. But fate had its own method of filling in the blanks. His family welcomed the twins with open arms, his parents fawning over their grandsons with a sweetness that caused his heart to overflow. Sunday dinner, holiday, ordinary afternoons, the whole thing felt like a small miracle. Life, finally, was full. And then, without warning, the fragile equilibrium broke. One afternoon, Owen suddenly fell ill. Not a trivial passing fever, but something deeper. Something that sent a cold wave of dread rippling through Leonard's tidily organized cosmos. Miss Rebecca's phone call stopped Leonard's heart in its tracks. Owen was being taken to the hospital. The words resonated in his head as he drove along the streets, every red traffic light a sickening halt. By the time he busted through the hospital doors, his hands were trembling, but a wave of relief came over him when he saw Owen awake, small and pale, but stable. The doctors had stabilized him, although their creased brows and whispered words gave Leonard cause for concern. What if it wasn't a temporary illness? The closed adoption had been a silent obstacle for so long, one Leonard had never questioned, until now. But with Owen's life in the balance, he could not be quiet. He implored the court to view the birth records, his heart hardening with each passing day without an answer. Nights were the worst, the darkness fueling his fears. What if there was something in Owen's past, something hidden and lurking? He pleaded the court for revealing of their birth certificates. He studied medical journals, phoned experts, left no stone unturned. Yet in all of it, he was never by himself. His parents waited with him in waiting rooms, a steady presence, a quiet anchor. Friends delivered meals, texted him just to see how he was doing. Gradually, their kindness forged his fear into something harder determination. No matter what the answer was, he would confront it. For Owen, for Nova, for the family he'd created against all expectations. To his surprise, the court's approval should have brought relief. And in some ways it did. The legal barrier had finally fallen. But as Leonard held the unopened envelope in his hands, a different weight settled over him. The answers he'd been desperate for were now inches away, yet something deeper held him back. He traced the edge of the seal, his mind racing. Leonard hesitates, fears what he'll find. What if the truth inside complicated things? What if it changed nothing? Or worse, changed everything? The twins were his in every way that mattered. Did digging into their past serve them, or just his own fears? With a slow exhale, he set the envelope aside. Some doors, once opened, couldn't be closed again. And if there was one thing Leonard had learned as a father, it was this. Love wasn't about claiming ownership of their story. It was about being their safe harbor, no matter where life's currents had carried them before. That night, he lay awake, the envelope burning a silent hole in his thoughts. But by morning, the choice felt right. Sunlight spilled through the curtains as he watched Nova and Owen sleep, their faces peaceful, trusting. Whatever storms might come, they'd face them together, not because of shared blood, but because of something far stronger, the family they'd chosen to be. The envelope felt heavy in Leonard's hands, not with the weight of paper, but with possibility. He entrusted it to the nurse with a quiet plea in his voice. Use this to help him. Then he returned to Owen's bedside, where the rhythmic beep of monitors marked time like a fragile heartbeat. Days blurred into nights of hushed conversations with doctors, of holding Owen's small hand while Nova leaned sleepily against his shoulder. The world narrowed to this, waiting, hoping, loving. The hospital staff became unexpected allies. Nurses brought extra blankets. The pediatrician took time to explain every test in gentle detail. Even the cafeteria lady slipped Leonard an extra coffee, her eyes soft with understanding. Sun City, too, wrapped around them. Casseroles appeared on their doorstep. Neighbors took Nova to the park so Leonard could stay with Owen. In the midst of fear, he found himself humbled by the quiet ways people carried one another. He'd meant to leave the birth certificate unopened. Truly, he had. But late one night, as Owen slept fitfully and the walls of the hospital room seemed to press in, Leonard's fingers found the certificate lying outside the drawer beside him. The paper crackled as he unfolded it, his breath catching midair. Then, her name. A name he hadn't spoken in years. A name that belonged to a someone from his past. The room tilted. Memories crashed over him. Laughter under summer stars, a whispered promise, the ache of a goodbye he never understood. How was it possible? The dates lined up like puzzle pieces clicking into place, revealing a picture he couldn't unsee. Owen stirred in his sleep, his forehead damp with fever. Leonard pressed a trembling hand to his son's cheek, staring at features he now saw differently. The curve of an eyebrow. The dimple that appeared when he smiled. Had they always been echoes of her? The truth settled over him, sharp and suffocating. This wasn't just a medical mystery anymore. It was a reckoning. Somewhere out there, the woman he'd once loved was the twins' mother. And whether she knew it or not, their lives were tangled in ways he could never have imagined. He folded the certificate slowly, the paper creasing under his grip. Love had built this family. Now, it would have to be strong enough to hold them through whatever came next. Leonard's hands clenched around the birth certificate as Eliza's name seared itself into his mind. His dear Eliza. The girl who'd held his heart during high school, whose laughter had been the music to his youth. The woman who'd vanished from his life without explanation, only to reemerge now, in some sealed papers and memory, as the mother of his children. Sleep became impossible. Between hospital surveillance, he chased truth like a madman. Old yearbooks. A hesitant conversation with a mutual friend from high school that confirmed his growing uneasiness. Eliza had struggled for years, with a life that had spiraled far from their teenage dreams. The twins, he learned, were the result of a surrogacy arrangement. The unnamed father on the birth certificate nibbled him. Was this some anonymous donor, or someone else entirely? Every answer bred new questions, each more painful than the last. He traced Eliza's path through half-whispered rumors, a stint in rehab, a move across state lines, a silence that spoke volumes. The vibrant girl he'd known had been worn down by a world that asked too much of her. And yet, the twins carried her light in their smiles. Nova's stubborn tilt of the chin, Owen's habit of biting his lip when concentrating. These were Eliza's gifts to them, whether she'd meant them to be or not. The final piece came from an unexpected source, a faded clinic record tucked in an old court file. The surrogacy had been brokered through a now-defunct agency, one with a reputation for exploiting vulnerable women. Eliza hadn't just carried the twins. She'd been forced into signing away all rights before they were born. Leonard sank into his kitchen chair, the document trembling in his hands. Fate had woven them together in cruelty and grace. Eliza's suffering had brought him his greatest joy. The irony was almost unbearable. Outside, Nova and Owen played in the autumn leaves, their laughter floating through the window. Whatever came next, whether he found Eliza or honored her absence, one truth remained. Their family had been forged in love, not blood. And that, perhaps, was the only answer that mattered. Leonard stumbled upon the buried story of Eliza's surrogate agreement, a selfless act meant to bring happiness to a couple longing for a child. But what should have been a straightforward arrangement twisted into something far more complicated, shrouded in secrets that never saw the light of day. The revelation hit him with staggering force, uncovering a piece of Eliza's past he never knew existed. Then came the crushing blow. Eliza had died soon after giving birth. The news tore through him. Yet within that grief, Leonard found something unexpected, a fragile but enduring hope. In Nova and Owen, he saw more than just his sons. He saw her, the echo of Eliza's spirit in their laughter, the flicker of her expressions in their faces. They were more than children. They were a living testament to her, a bridge between the past and the future. And in that realization, Leonard found a way to hold on to her, even as he let go. The truth settled into Leonard's heart like a long missing puzzle piece, deepening his connection to Nova and Owen in ways he hadn't imagined. They were bound now, not by blood, but by love, memory, and a story that belonged to all three of them. With quiet determination, he made a vow. Eliza's legacy would live on through honesty, through the way he raised their sons, through the moments he'd make sure they knew her. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. A new chapter where Eliza's absence was no longer a silent void, but a presence they could speak of, laugh, and honor in the small, everyday moments. Leonard had learned something irreplaceable. Family isn't just about whose blood runs in your vein. It's about who holds your heart, who shares your history, and who stands beside you no matter what. And then, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds, came another gift. Hope. Owen's illness, once a dark cloud over their future, was now something they could face. With the right care, he thrived again. The relief was overwhelming, lifting a weight Leonard hadn't realized was crushing him. As they moved forward, Leonard, Nova, and Owen, they did so as a family forged in love and resilience. Whatever laid ahead, they would meet it together, carrying Eliza with them always. Not as a ghost, but as the quiet, enduring force that had brought them all together. Which moment wrecked you the most? Was it twins' secret, Eliza's fate, Leonard's discovery, or Owen's health crisis? Let us know your thoughts in the comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more unbelievable stories. Until then, stay kind and humble.